The opening weekend of the SPFL has been full of drama, intrigue, and plenty of goals. And it's not done yet. There's one more game to go, but I'm sure no one on this podcast is going to care too much about it. Hello and welcome to the Monday edition of the State of Scottish Football at 6 o'clock. And you're joining myself, Jack Donnelly, and Cameron Wanstall for the next hour, talking about all the ins and outs, the weird and wonderful of the beautiful game up here in God's country. We are broadcasting live across Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And before we get going, we just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who got involved in the first week of this show. It's been really, really encouraging to see a lot of support and a lot of kind words being said about the show and how it's looking going forward. We're really, really excited about this going into the rest of the season, and we're going to be trying our best to make it as big and as brilliant as we possibly can. So we hope you'll stick with us for the long ride. Cameron, it's great to have you back with me here today, mate. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, mate. I've just came off the back of a shift, but I'm okay. I've woke myself up a little bit. What about yourself?
Well, I think I've been needing to do a bit of that today as well, to be honest. I got it might actually have something to do with it. I got my second COVID vaccine yesterday. Yeah. And I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning. I was fully awake, so I don't know if that was a contributing factor or not, but yeah, I've had a pretty busy day, but I've got something to look forward to tonight, so that's what's been keeping me going.
But wait, look forward to or kind of like hide from and be a little bit scared off.
I was talking about this show. I don't know what you could have been referencing.
No, I don't know how I could have got that mixed up.
We'll definitely get onto that later in the show. Of course, it's been a massively entertaining first weekend of Cinch for us to break down, and I just want to talk with you because it's such a good thing to be able to say that's like proper top tier Cinch. It's almost like Barclays, like you would refer.
I know. I hate it, but I don't. I hate it now, but I'm going to be saying it within a week. Definitely.
You've been saying it more than any of us, I swear. Like in Duke's
I have not. Sean McGill, he
loves it. Sitting on that call with him, editing that. Just hearing, I want to watch the Cinch. Let me go watch the Cinch. It's just embedded into my head. I don't think it's going away anytime soon, but I wouldn't really want it to.
No.
But I mean, they say a lot about Scottish football and the kind of patter that it brings along with it. I think patter of the weekend has to go to Albion Rovers and the game. So if anyone missed this, I'll leave a few tweets. Sean McGill in the comments already saying a big game of Cinch tonight. It is indeed, my man. You're not wrong. I'll say just now, we'll go to Albion Rovers Twitter just to get anyone caught up that missed this. Madness at the Rygart Stadium. The referee is injured and can't continue. Our player Max Wright looks like he will be the official running the line at the stand side. Gary Naismith is raging. That's kind of like a forever statement, to be honest. Like,
it's not a shock, is it? Gary Naismith is usually just raging. That is typical.
100%. They then went, we're still not underway. No one has a clue what's happening. At the moment, Max Wright still has the line nose flag. You know, as it may. They then tweeted a picture of a dog to tide people over, and it was a good picture of a dog, in fairness. They then said, we are only going with one linesman, and then finished with, inject the Cinch, baby. I completely agree. Agree.
I love it. I love all of it, to be fair.
But Sean's continuing his tirade.
I think we should ban him.
Cameron Wanstall tweeting goal gifts from his personal account. Do you want to highlight what exactly went on there, Cam?
I don't, but I feel like I'm being forced into it. So I was at I do some work for Bonnyrigg Rose, fantastic football club in the Lowland League, and it was a 6-2 thriller against Gretna 2008. And when the 8th goal of the game went in, I may have got a little bit overexcited and tweeted from my own account instead of Bonnyrigg's, and it did look a little bit stupid. Just a massive Bonnyrigg goal gif. I think it was Hall again, bicycle kick. It was such a good goal. It was so exuberant, and it was from the wrong account. I'd already started replying to that tweet to explain the goal to the many Bonnyrigg fans who don't follow my personal account, and it was a little bit embarrassing. But again, that's Scottish football patter for you. And also, can I just say, I don't know if that is, by the way, the Albion Rovers one. I don't know if it is. I can't remember which team it was, but the team that just slated the whole of Cumbernauld, I think it might have been Dumbarton, saying that the whole of Cumbernauld was just a massive hole before their game against Clyde.
It kicked off.
Yeah, it really did. It kicked off. And I thought that's the best bit apart from the weekend for me, I think. That's amazing. It's unnecessary. That's what makes it so brilliant.
Well, one weekend in, and we're already debating what's been the best moment of patter. That's why Scottish football's so brilliant. Like, I mean,
Exactly.
if you're not that involved in Scottish football, this is the perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, you've just got arguments over which has been the funniest moment in the opening weekend. And I'm sure these arguments are going to carry on long into the remainder of the season.
Hopefully. Yeah.
We've got a fair bit to talk about on today's show.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start, as I always like to do, just with the kind of latest kind of transfer gossip coming while we still get the transfer window to discuss. Biggest story of the weekend in terms of incomings and outgoings. Josh Doig left out completely of Hibs squad going down to Fir Park to play Motherwell. And Jack Ross did confirm it's because he is expecting Doig to leave the club very soon. Apparently, it's Burnley, Watford, and Nottingham Forest all interested in the 19-year-old, valued at about £4 million. Cam, what do you make of this? I mean, you might want to take off your maroon tinted specs just to analyse him over a little bit, but £4 million for a player at 19 years old, it's definitely an investment for whoever gets him, but a decent sum of money for Hibs at the same time.
Yeah, that's what worries me. As you said, my maroon tinted glasses. It worries me that Hibs, already owned by quite a rich man, are getting even more millions of pounds. It is quite worrying from a Gorgie viewpoint. But no, it's a really good deal, I think. There was 2.5 million that was rejected before from, I think, probably both Burnley and Watford. I think West Ham were still in the race at that point. I think it's a shame that Hibs are going to lose him, because I would like to have seen him another year or two in the Scottish Premiership, but that's just not how football works. A lot of money coming from down south, a good opportunity to learn at a club that probably has, to be fair, probably similar training facilities than Hibs, not any better. Hibs have fantastic facilities, but at a better level. Even if he goes out on loan to the English Championship, an argument could be made that it's a better level. So we can't really fault him for wanting to go at such a young age, only 19. I think it's more making sure that he actually does play down there, whether he goes out on loan or not. If he goes down there and if he's playing in an under-23s league for the rest of the season, I'll be upset as a Hearts fan that a Hibs prodigy is going down there and just playing in the under-23s. It'll be such a big waste. But interesting. I wonder what will happen. I wonder how Hibs rebound as well from this, because they only have Lewis Stevenson really at left back, I think. I don't know if they have any really great cover there. So it'll be interesting to see if Hibs quickly use that money elsewhere, or if they just stick with the tried and tested Lewis Stevenson.
Well, we'll get onto that a little bit later, because we are going to talk about that kind of back and forth game between Hibs and Motherwell at Fir Park a little bit later on, so we might bring that back up then. Moving down the list, Celtic back in the transfer dealings, as a lot of fans will have expected them to be following the weekend's results. But potentially not the player they will have kind of been hoping for to be linked. It kind of seems to be but just adding to the kind of silly season surrounding Celtic Park at the moment. Potentially looking to bring in former Crystal Palace midfielder James McCarthy after the midfielder left Selhurst Park this summer. It would be on a free deal and no transfer fee paid, just the wages, or get him in a contract. What do you make of this one? Because I feel like there might have been that kind of hole in the midfield since Brown left, just obviously his personality kind of makes up for a player in himself. But would James McCarthy be the right kind of player that Celtic should be looking after to get in that midfield alongside Callum McGregor?
It's difficult because there's two different answers. So James McCarthy, the player himself, sure, I think he's a good player. He's only 30. He's got a lot about him, a lot of great experience in the Premier League for many clubs. But he's not what they need right now. Like, Celtic need a player to come into that team right now, start of this season. He's had no pre-season. He's had, I think, 2 or 3 years of just injury hell. Injuries that would make Abu Dhabi look like he's always fit. Like, really, he's been really bad for injuries the last few years. And it's probably going to be fairly high wages. I know it's his boyhood club, Celtic, but he's still not going to take a massive, massive cut in wages. So they're probably going to be paying a lot for a player that isn't fit, won't be fit for a while, and when he comes back is an injury risk. I just don't think it's worth the risk. I know I don't think it's Celtic quite going after him. He's maybe on their books, but I think it's more he's been offered to Celtic, possibly by an agent or something. So it's more likely that's the case. But even if that is it, I don't think Celtic should be looking for him. I think that this is a player that won't help them from the off. I think they've got enough options just now in midfield to get them going without like sort of rushing to bring in a player last ditch like James McCarthy.
And it just seemed an odd one to me when it cropped up, because I think McCarthy probably played a fair bit for Palace last season.
I know he made 52 appearances over the couple of years that he was there, but I'm not sure how many were last year. Sorry.
And so he will have had some contribution in the last year or so, but clearly not a good enough contribution to see him being kept on.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a no pre-season thing, to be fair. So it's the fact that he's not had any fitness. It's just too big a risk. Too big a risk for me.
Aye. I mean, if he was coming in fully up to speed, then you could definitely understand it. But as you say, the fact he'll be coming in and will be a work in progress realistically for the first 3-4 weeks that he's in Glasgow. So
exactly,
we'll see what Celtic decide to do with that one. It'll be interesting to see whether they actually commit to the deal and go for it. From one injury-stricken midfielder to another, Cameron, there's really nothing but good news for you at this one. Lloyd Demure has been part of Midlothian.
Yeah.
Especially in terms of it's announced, but he's flown over to France to join Le Mans in the Championnat National, which is the French mid tier, on loan for the year until he sees out his contract with Hearts, and then he'll probably stick with the club after that deal at Hearts expires. Are you happy with that? Are you happy to see him go?
Yes, I am very happy to see him go. Loic Damour, he's one of those players, even from the off, you knew straight away this guy's not going to cut it. Like, he's just not going to cut. He's clearly just a little bit hot-headed. Like I said, he's got an injury risk as well. He's just, he knew from the start he was going to cut, and we gave him a 3 or 4 year deal. I can't quite remember. It's a 3 or 4 year deal we gave him on decent wages, and we're shipping him off, paying part of his wages, I believe, to a third-tier part-time team in France, Le Mans. Like, I can't get my head. Sometimes there's transfers Hearts do, and you go, wow, that is good business. Like, that is really good. And then for every one of those, there's another 5 that are just, what are you doing? That's why I've been happy to see Hearts make no real transfers this summer, because there's not been any I've went, thank God, what is going on? Yeah, like there's none to be angry at, you know? Yes, I'm very glad Loic Damour's gone, to answer your question. I think he was just never going to fit him from the start. He never did, and the sooner we see the back of him, the better.
For every one Craig Gordon, there's 5 Loic Damours.
That's a good way to sum it up, mate. That is a good way to sum it up.
We keep comments coming in from all over the place already. Graham Caldwell, a regular viewer of the show, we're happy to have you back again, Graham. I actually think that Gary Cahill would have been a good option for Celtic if they could match his wages. A real experienced head and a leader at the back. They really need that at the moment. I would completely agree with that.
Yeah,
of course,
absolutely.
Announced he was leaving Crystal Palace after the expiry of his contract and his current deal, and he's kind of looking for a club whether he would come up north of the border for Celtic. It would be a case of matching those wages, because I can't imagine they would have diminished a lot going from Chelsea to Crystal Palace. I can't imagine they would want to lower them much more going up to Celtic either. So it's whether they would want to commit to a big contract, probably on a 2-year deal at least, you would expect. For Hill's only 32, I think.
Low 30s. Yeah,
fairly decent age to be competitive up here, especially. So it's whether Celtic would actually want to shell out on those wages. But I think he'd be a good fit. I mean, I watched him a lot with Chelsea, and that when he was partnering John Terry, I think he was excellent. I think that's the one thing I would take away about Gary Cahill. I think he does need a good partner for him to be at his absolute best. I mean, he does have that leadership quality in him, but I think it's better when he's almost kind of second in command, like vice captain rather than full-fledged captain. But I don't know what you would think about that, Cam.
I think John Terry just left Phil as assistant manager. Just get him back playing. Get the both of them.
Get the both of them
at the back. John Terry's about 40 now. Doesn't matter. He's still a top centre back. They'd both do a job. No, but seriously, I agree with everything you say. I don't have much to add. I think you're totally right. I don't think he's actually a true leader himself, but he is a fantastic centre back, and I think that's a great shout. I think that's a great shout from Drew there. I totally agree.
Maladino saying Cahill is 35. I really got my years mixed up there. I think
there you go.
When he was leaving on mouth, I thought to myself, I'm sure he's actually 32 years old. Clearly not.
I think he's younger too. Yeah,
I do appreciate it. And I've been calling you Cam the whole time, but Robert Baker's clearly pointed out that you're Keanu Reeves. In fact,
I've had some amazing shouts since I started doing that. That is by far my favourite yet. Thank you so much, Robert Baker. That's outstanding.
It's the goatee. That's what's doing it for
That's
you.
all it is. If I shaved my beard, I'd be getting a lot worse. Like, a lot worse. This keeps me going.
With me, in terms of lookalikes. Just a couple more up the striking end of the pitch to close off today's kind of transfer talk. St Johnstone, close to landing the 22-year-old striker A2 Virtanen from Eels Tampere. To be honest, I don't know an awful lot about this guy. I just saw it on the BBC this morning, the gossip pages, that they were close to bringing him in. And you said you saw like a wee kind of video in the Courier about him. It just seemed to look all right. is this potentially an area that the Saints should be looking to strengthen? Because they're fairly light in options up front, are they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've seen in the past that Chris Kane and Stevie May have both not been underwhelming. They still offer so much off the ball, but when it comes to finishing, especially Stevie May, from what I've seen of him anyway, the chances he misses are sometimes criminal. Chris Kane could maybe say the same. I think it would be good for him to get a proper goal scorer. And this lad's got, I think, 20 odd goals at a young age, only 22, a couple of seasons in the Finnish league. Obviously, a lower standard than Scotland, but we shouldn't be looking down on it too much. He's 6'2", I've seen that in the career. He's 6'2", kind of looks. From what I've seen, I have just seen what the Courier put in. It's like a YouTube montage. That is the only thing I've seen of him. It's his best moments, not his worst. But he looked like he just had a lot about him for someone that was 6'2" with quite a wiry frame. Like he just seemed quick, seemed like he could get in behind defences, pretty good for Scottish football. He had a good touch, a deft touch, really good. He could pull out passes out of nowhere, a few lovely assists that he laid on for his teammates, and good at dribbling as well. Like could hold up the ball really well, but also push towards goal. So he seemed like he was a proper all-rounder, something that maybe St Johnstone haven't had. And he also does finish his chances. Took a lot of difficult chances in that video. I think if anyone wants to see it, it's on the BBC Gossip page, linked to the Couriers there. The video is in that article. It's about a 6-minute long video. It shows you his best bits. I think if that's what he could bring to Perthshire, then it's an excellent fit for St Johnstone, especially when Chris Kane and Stevie May are both having some fitness troubles over pre-season and into the start of the season. So maybe getting a striker in quick is a good thing to do.
Definitely, especially if they are going to be looking to consolidate their place in the top half of the table and potentially kick on and get maybe another decent cup run or a run in Europe as well. Of course, they've got that European tie against Galatasaray. Is it this week or next week? I think it's this Thursday, isn't it?
This week, isn't it? I think, yeah. Hibs are playing this week in Europe. Aberdeen are playing this week in Europe. Should be the same week, yeah.
Yeah. So they've got that to look forward to, so potentially could get him over the line before that game would be a massive help. Just finally closing off, that there's constant speculation surrounding Alfredo Morelos just now and whether he would be back in time or he would be back and playing a part in the season. But he's put up a new picture of him at his house in he's made it home. He's out of quarantine now, so he'll be able to link back up with the Rangers squad and get back to training again. What's your thoughts on his situation this summer? Because there's been a lot of links with FC Porto, and I think I spoke about this with Struan last week, or Sean potentially as well, but just wanted to get your thoughts on what Morelos could end up doing this summer, whether he'll stick with Rangers or whether he'll move elsewhere.
I personally would like to see him stay. I know Rangers are quite stacked for options just now up front. Somebody sounds like Fashion Sakala, so they are stacked up there. But I would like to see him stay. I think it might come down to money, perhaps, even whether that's Rangers wanting money or Morelos himself wanting money. I mean, Rangers are back in the Champions League. They've got qualifiers to go through, but I mean, did Porto didn't win the league last season? Sporting Lisbon won the league. Did Porto even finish top 2, top 3? Did they get Champions League qualification this season? Do we know?
Oh, someone might need to keep us right on that.
Yeah, they definitely didn't finish first, but I don't know if they're even Champions League football. Like, I feel like Rangers could easily make the Champions League group stage. I hope they do. I'm backing them too. And I think that would it really be better to jump from Rangers to Porto now? Maybe a few years ago, absolutely, Celtic or Rangers to Porto. That is a totally fine transfer, totally understand. But now I think Scottish football's thriving. I think Rangers are looking stronger. I don't see any real need for him to go to Porto other than for a financial reason. So.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think definitely it was going to be a much more attractive option to him maybe 2-3 seasons ago, but now Rangers are in Champions League qualification. They're just done a whole league season unbeaten, and they're going to be looking to build on that in the Cups especially. So, yeah, there we go. So, I mean, I feel like it's a much better option for him to stay here unless it's going to be monetary. If he's looking for more money, that's probably the only reason I could see him potentially jumping ship. But yeah. I think for his own reasons and for being able to help Rangers out in Europe and doing so help the coefficient out, there you go. We want him to stay.
Yeah.
There you go. Porto finished second, so they will have had
Champions League.
So we're 20 minutes in, and we've not even spoken about one football result yet. So we're going to have to rectify this now. And those of a green and white persuasion are going to be sick to the death of hearing about this game, especially considering how it ended up. But we're going to have to give it another go because Jambo soldier Cameron Monstall has not had a chance to talk about his Hearts side over Celtic. Celtic's first loss on the opening day since 1997, I believe.
Wow.
I'm correct in that.
Wow.
24 years. That is just for those trying to do the maths in their head. Cam, the biggest kind of thing for me in this game, Hearts winning 2-1, obviously, with that late goal. That late goal came from John Souttar, and that is just what a story that is for him to battle back from 2 ruptured Achilles injuries, get back into top flight with Hearts, push for a place in the starting 11, and score on the return. Like, that's just fantastic stuff to see, isn't it?
Yeah, I cannot stress enough that if John Souttar hadn't had injury problems, he'd be going to the very top. Like, he would have kept progressing and kept improving. And honestly, it's not. I don't feel bad. I don't mean to diminish Scottish football or my own club here, but John Souttar would have been playing at a higher level than Hearts, I believe, if injury troubles hadn't just cruelly held him back for so long. He said 2 ruptured Achilles, and that's not it. Like, he did have other bad injuries in between that. Like, he got over that, had another injury, came back and hurt his Achilles again. It's been such a shame for him. So if you wanted anyone on that pitch to get a last minute winner for Hearts, it was definitely John Souttar. It was a great header. I know Scott Bain's caught in 2 minds, but it's a great header. It's an excellent ball in from Michael Smith too. Right footed sort of in swinging free kick from really deep. It's an excellent ball, an excellent header, and just a fantastic one. You saw in the celebrations how much it meant to him. Like, you could tell. I can't remember who he was hugging. Was it maybe Liam Boyce? And it was like his head into his shoulders for like a good 20 seconds, probably, just a bit emotional. Couldn't even lift his head. Just it meant that much to him. And it's a great moment for the centre back.
Massive, and that's really encouraging for not only him but the rest of his teammates, the fans, the management. Just having someone like Souttar being kind of back to his best, hopefully going into this season. Like, you just have to think, like, if injuries hadn't just plagued them for so long, could he have potentially been in that squad this summer going to the Euros? But like, you just never know, do you? I mean, if he's still maintaining that level, do you even consider somebody like Jack Hendry? Like, it's just a lot of if, buts and maybes. But potentially that's what he's going to be aiming for now, just to kick on, get Hearts at the table as much as he can, and potentially get Steve Clarke kind of giving him a wee message, like phoning him up, trying to get him involved in internationals. That's what I would be aiming for if I were John Souttar, but I'm not John Souttar. I'm just a guy, in the football talk talking about him. It wasn't just a good performance from Souttar, though, who was defensively really solid throughout the game as well. New lad in the midfield, Benny Bananjime, kind of slotted perfectly into that midfield. He got man of the match on his debut. Cam, for somebody who hadn't maybe been accustomed to seeing, I'm just going to call him Benny because I feel like I'm just going to butcher his last name as much as possible. What would he bring to a team like Hearts in terms of his playing style, what he can offer, and things like that?
A bit more energy, maybe. We have quite a lot of technical players that maybe aren't box-to-box stuff. I've seen a rumour we were talking about last week that like Hearts could play a 3-4-3 with Jamie Walker in centre midfield alongside Peter Harron. Jamie Walker just doesn't have the legs for that. I don't think. He's not a box-to-box player. He's an attacking midfielder or a winger. He just doesn't have the legs. You could say the same for a few of our other midfielders as well. Peter Harron's our sort of brutish midfielder. He can play CDM, CM, he can play up and down the midfield, but I think him beside Benny will be fantastic. Those two could be an excellent partnership. They clearly both have enough when bringing the ball forward. Maybe Harron's more of a danger man when it comes to running into the box than Benny is, but I think both of them defensively really solid. If those two are a double pivot together with men dropping in and actually doing the playmaking in front of them, it's an excellent tactic for Robbie Neilson to run with, and it could help us this season big time. He's the sort of player that we definitely needed. I'm excited that he's here now.
Well, excited, and I think that was the general reaction from just about everyone in the Hearts fan base. And there was a lot of praise from neutrals as well, just saying how good he was at breaking down the play, turning it on it quickly, and just pushing it back up the pitch, just really looking to progress the ball, which is definitely. I think it was he recovered possession about 11 times compared to his opposite number as Neil Sorrow. I think he recovered possession twice, so that just kind of showed you the levels that he was kind of playing at last on Saturday night kickoff, of course. But that's just kind of stark for kind of. I didn't know if Celtic were that bad in terms of actually playing the game on Saturday night. I thought after they went 1-0 down, it was kind of really their game, and obviously they got their equaliser, but they just didn't make any of those attacks count. And considering that's the kind of football that Postecoglou was looking to play, that kind of free-flowing attacking football, is that a cause for concern? The fact that they're getting chances, but they're just not applying the finishing touch.
Maybe, yeah. I thought they were really poor first half. From what I've seen back, they looked really poor first half, and then they did start getting into the game more. Yeah, they couldn't finish their chances. It was a little bit like the same in midweek in the Champions League against Midtjylland. They just couldn't actually put the ball in the back of the net. Like, don't get me wrong, that was very much down to Craig Gordon as well, having a superb game, saving pretty much anything that came his way, especially in the last few moments. But yeah, I'd put it down. It maybe isn't as much as a disaster as people are making out. I know it's 24 years for losing the opening game, so it's worrying. It really is. But the performance itself, poor, but not as bad as some people maybe thought it would be. I mean, they were better than I thought they would be. I walked into this game quite confident. I thought Hearts would win. I think I put 1-0 Gary Mackay-Stevens. So when he got it 1-0 the early doors, I thought, good, let's just hold on to this. Take the ball to the corner. I'm doing well here. But no, they got back into it, and then they fell again later. If it ended 1-1, it wouldn't be as big a disaster as it seems right now. I think Ryan Christie not playing was unusual. I think that's probably where it went wrong for them. I think if he'd been on the pitch, he would have definitely got Celtic into the game more. I think we maybe would have seen a different scoreline. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think Hearts just had a very professional game plan, made the right subs, something that Robbie Nielsen hasn't done in the past, and they held out for a 2-1 win. So yeah, it's more Hearts done well than Celtic being absolutely dreadful.
Yeah, I seem to remember when Peter Haring came on. I think he came off the bench on the night, and I just thought that's the perfect time to bring him on because Celtic were just starting to grow into the game and get some nice passages in the midfield. And you said he's your kind of brutish midfielder, he's your destroyer. Yeah. So I feel like bringing him on at that point just to absolutely disrupt anything that Celtic were trying to build was a really good move from Nielsen. So credit to him for that. There was a lot of kind of animosity and some negative reactions directed to Celtic's new man at the back, Carl Starfelt. I mean, playing his debut, just coming in from a 10-day isolation period, not having the most opportune chance for training that he could have potentially asked for. Surely he couldn't have just been expected to have come in off the back of that and just instantly solve all of Celtic's defensive instabilities that have kind of been plaguing them throughout the last season.
No, definitely not. Not even too much to say on that because you're spot on. He really didn't have. It wasn't opportune whatsoever. He didn't have a chance to properly integrate with the squad. I doubt he really knew too much about how Celtic really played. Didn't have that much time to recover. So, no, I don't think anyone. I know he made a mistake or two, and he was probably at fault for the first goal. But yeah, I'm not putting too much blame on him personally. I think he seems, from the little I've seen, he seems all right, and I think he'll eventually integrate well with the squad and perform a lot better than he did on his opening game. But yeah, maybe a bit harsh to criticise him so quickly.
You would have to hope so. And you know what? I just something popped back into my mind about this game. I don't have it in my notes. Tony Ralston's goal.
Yeah, was outstanding. Yeah, I felt really dumb because I was sort of the guy. I think Anthony Ralston would be a fine backup this season for Celtic, but if he's there right back going into the season, that's worrying. But that goal was wonderful. Like, he was out of position, midfield, picked up, quick 1-2, took about 3 men off their feet, both centre backs and Benny Baningime, and just rifled it left-footed past Craig Gordon. Like, no chance. Like, it's honestly one of the best goals of the weekend for me. And like you said, it wasn't even in your notes. It's been forgotten about because the result went the other way. But it's a great goal, a really great goal.
I think if you had to put money on any one player scoring in that game that wasn't one of the goalkeepers, the last person to put money on is Tony Ralston.
Yeah.
It just caught me. I thought it was McGregor or Forrest or someone when I looked it up. Then I saw the number at the back of the shirt. That's way too high for anybody else. Took me by complete surprise. Now, just one final thing before we move on from this game. I know you'll have loved talking about Hearts getting their season off to the perfect start. I know that for a fact, but just to kind of have that neutral view on Celtic's manager, Ange Postecoglou, he's kind of split opinions and is kind of dealing with the media over the last kind of week or so. Like saying, what was it? Is like, oh, you'll be surprised how much I know about Hearts. I'm not from another planet and things like that. I'm not an accountant. I'm a football manager. And just his overarching desire to call everyone mate. Just that innate Australianism in his delivery. I mean, what's your take? I mean, is he kind of full of that kind of personality, or is it just a bit rude?
I don't mind it. I think those two situations. So there was one where he just lost his first league game of the season, okay, and he knows that's a big problem. So that was one of them. And the other one was when he was talking about not being from a different planet. That one I really don't mind. I thought the question was a little bit just rubbish, and I thought it was a little bit, what's the word, demeaning? Would it be condescending and maybe patronising? One of them. I thought, like, he is a professional manager that will have done his research. Like, it's not even that hard to just watch an old Hearts game, do some data analysis, get reports from assistants. Like, it was a poor question, and I was quite glad when he came out and just sort of like just chucked that aside, just totally shut him down. So I don't mind that at all. And when a manager loses after a game, I'm fuming if my manager is like chirpy and happy and just not scathing. And I don't mind that if he's coming out and he's being a little bit rude. And also, it's not nice for the journalist that he's talking to. If it was me, I'd be a little bit like, oh my God, he might hit me, because he was quite a big guy. But yeah, no, I don't mind that at all. I really don't. Like, we'll see in the next few weeks if he keeps doing it and if it maybe does become a little bit more rude. But so far, I don't have any problem with it. I think the first question was condescending. I think when you've lost the opening game of the season for the first time in 24 years, you're allowed to be a little bit annoyed and a little bit restless with the media. So, no problem.
It's like, I can see why people kind of saw him as a bit kind of bristly following that, but you're absolutely right. I mean, losing your opener for the first time in 24 years and your first competitive league match with your new club, it's not really anything encouraging, but at the same time, it's almost kind of expected. You're not really wanting someone to come out sunshiny daisies, like grinning when you've lost, like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does often at Manchester United, and it just riles people up. So I think potentially had Postecoglou come out smiles and all cheery, that would have done a lot worse for it.
Definitely.
The way it did come out. You can see in the title there, Celtic did lose, but Rangers did get off to a flyer in their opening match. To be honest, I watched this match. I wasn't all too impressed by Rangers showing. I mean, they did win 3-0. I mean, it sounds ridiculous when you actually put it into perspective, but it wasn't an entirely convincing 3-0. I mean, the first goal was really nice, and Yanis Hadji took a nice touch before just blasting it past Max Struijk. Second one, lovely finish from Scott Wright, who came on to replace Hadji, and then Ruth was first to react from a bit of a breakdown just in front of the goal mouth. So 3 fine enough goals, but Cam, I didn't really see an awful lot from Rangers that was anything like their top level last season, which, considering they won 3-0, could also be a bit concerning.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think it was a professional performance. It never looked in doubt. They only were leading 1-0 until the 78th minute, so it could have went all wrong. One Livy goal and you're screwed. But no, I thought they held on. Livy really never looked like they were getting a sniff. If we're going to touch on them for a minute, they looked bad, as we expected them to against the reigning champions. No one really expected them to come out and get a result as they would have in the past, but they did look quite poor. But I think Rangers just look assured. Like, they did have a few players missing out. I don't think they had just right down McGregor, Barisic, Patterson, Jack, Itten, Arfield, Morelos. None of them playing. Roof and Lundstrom off the bench. You know, like, it was a fairly rotated team with Europe in mind. And I just think that there was no need for them to go out and waste loads of energy trying to get a 7-0 scalping on the opening day against Livy. They went out, assured performance, 3-0. I thought they looked like their usual self, to be honest. I don't think they were too far off it. And it was maybe more Livingston not really putting up much of a fight. They just let them sort of breeze to a victory.
That is the thing. That's what I was going to get on to. I mean, Livingston, they have had like another summer of change. I mean, they've lost a number of very good players. I mean, Scott Robinson and J. Manuel Thomas, just to name a couple. I like the signing of Bruce Anderson up front. I thought he was pretty good earlier last season for Aki's when he moved in the January, and kind of almost really kind of dragged them out of that relegation fight and almost got them their place back in the league, but didn't turn out that way. But they didn't really look up to much in the end. But can we look into that too heavily? Opening game of the season, away at Ibrox in front of the champions and 22,500 fans.
I think
anyone into
Maladino has said it in the comments there. Livingston's marking was shambolic. That's basically it. Actually, that's the best way to sum it up. Is I don't know if they played that badly, but they're marking. They've lost 1 or 2 defenders. Also, John Guthrie's way back down south after making it known that he wanted to move back to England. I think that's a huge loss. I think we've seen that because but he's totally right in the comments that Livingston's marking was horrendous. Like the first goal alone, if you just look at that, Hadji's just open at the back post and then sits 4 of them down to take a shot. Like it's embarrassing, really, no matter who you're playing. So, yeah, it's definitely Livingston more worrying than Rangers from that game.
One potential worry that Steven Gerrard's going to have to deal with, Yanis Hadji did score the opener, as we've just explained, but he was forced off through an injury later into the first half, and could potentially keep him out of this week's Champions League clash away to Malmo. Scott Wright came on, fair enough, and scored a really nice goal, really lovely first-time finish from him. But, I mean, is he going to be a suitable enough replacement for Hadji? I know Gerrard's more than comfortable playing him, but you would have rather had Hadji in the side for Malmo than Scott Wright, surely.
Yeah, probably. I'm a big fan of Hadji. I know you get some stick from some supporters and just some Scottish football fans in general, but I really like him. But Scott Wright's a decent player. It's not like it's a huge drop off. He is still a top professional at Rangers. Like Gerrard wouldn't have him there if he didn't think he would do a job. And I think his goal there will give him a bit of confidence as well. And I think stepping into that team shouldn't be too big of an issue. Yeah, you want Hadji, but Scott Wright's not an issue that he's there at all for me.
We'll move on from that because I felt like there weren't too many kind of overarching discussions to be had about the Rangers game, other than it was a 3-0 win. Rangers got off start again. I wanted to touch on the Aberdeen game for one reason, and that's a specific player. But for those that didn't see, Aberdeen did defeat Dundee United 2-0 at Pittodrie. I think this is a much better Aberdeen side than we're seeing in terms of what they were like last season under Derek McInnes. Stephen Glass came in midway through last season, which we've already explained that was a really good decision. Just gave him the time he needed to kind of bleed his principles into the team that were already there, and they were already used to playing that kind of system coming into the new season. Maladino's in the comments again. He's alluding to what we're going to be talking about and saying Calvin is Scotland's best right back. Now, for those that don't know Calvin Ramsey, he's just kind of burst onto the scene now. Realised in the last couple of weeks. Turned 18 on Saturday, so the day before the Dundee United match, and was absolutely unplayable down that right-hand side. Properly threatening Dundee United, who looked fairly meagre for the majority, I would say. Like, I don't feel like they offered too much, but he was great. I mean, his wee dummy past Mark Reynolds leading to the cross for Christian Ramirez's header was absolutely fantastic. I mean, so confident and assured of a fresh-faced 18-year-old. Cam, I don't know what you're thinking of it, but I mean, if last season was the year of Josh Doig, could this season be the year of Calvin Ramsey potentially?
Possibly. He was fantastic. He said that right flank. His best moment, obviously, the assist for Ramirez, where not only was the cross just amazing, but he also sat down Mark Reynolds, who, don't get Mark Reynolds, maybe not, maybe one of the easiest centre backs in the league to turn, but just that dummy, I think he went through his legs, turned him, whipped the ball in, great assist, and that's his key moment in that game. But he was excellent for the full time he was on the pitch, and yeah, he could definitely be the next Josh Doig, the next Aaron Hickey, the next whoever, the next Scottish fullback that's coming out of nowhere for Aberdeen. And it's definitely the sort of player that they need. They've got so many other players coming in like Jet and Ramirez. They've got Scott Brown in midfield, but to have an actual academy prospect coming through, that'll be really good for the fans to get behind. And a really exciting player. Hopefully has a really good season.
Yeah, really exciting. And I don't want to jinx anything by what I'm about to say, but after a long time without any kind of positivity surrounding a Scottish right back, we've been able to see Stephen O'Donnell come into the national team setup and actually put in a string of solid performances. At least, I mean, you don't really need to mention Wembley anymore because you just the Stephen O'Donnell National Stadium at this point.
Yeah.
Nathan Patterson get called up for that squad, and we know how much Rangers fans have been ranting and raving about him. We saw some of his qualities in that little stint towards the end of last season. And with Calvin Ramsey coming through, I know I don't want to read too much into it because it's been this game and the two European games as well, in which he still looked fairly confident again. Could we potentially have a right back sorted for the next a very prolonged period of time if you're sitting with a more senior figure in O'Donnell and then young talented players in Ramsey and Patterson?
Potentially, like you say, it's still far too early to say. But it definitely looks like you could be. A lot of them are heartbroken again because we've said it so many times about so many good Scottish talents and they've just not cut it when it's been a few years in and they've maybe been sold and went abroad or went down south and it's not worked out for them. So we'll wait and see what he does for the rest of the season first. But he's definitely on the trajectory of fullbacks of the past that have actually done well. So we'll see what happens.
And just to touch on Dundee United before we move on, Cam, I mean, was this the expected outcome, just a fairly professional, again, win for Aberdeen? Because we know how dour United's football was at times last season. I mean, just some really kind of uninspiring, unattractive stuff. But the potential could have maybe been a shift under Tam Courts coming in, but it seemed to be much of the same. I mean, from the kind of word go, they sat back and just looked to frustrate Aberdeen. So is this just going to be another season of a fairly uninspiring Dundee United side?
Yeah, it seems like it. I think again, Tam Court's coming in and try to integrate some more youth players, and I think staying up's probably the aim for Dundee United. They know how easy it'll be to get dragged into a relegation battle, and they don't want to spend another few years in the Championship like they just did. So I think safety is the name of the game for them, and I think there's one or two other teams that are worse than them, so I think they should stay up. But it'll be a real struggle if they don't put in any better performances than they did on Saturday. Then they might be in trouble. I think, don't get me wrong, Aberdeen were superb, some great performances. Lewis Ferguson again, another standout too. A good assist for Johnny Hayes, but it just seemed like Dundee didn't put up much of a fight. Probably had one or two half chances, and that was it. Really didn't offer anything in the game.
We've just had a comment there from Paul Cockwell, come on the Hibs, and he's come at the perfect time because we're just going to be moving on to that back and forth game in Lanarkshire. Motherwell 2, Hibernian 3. The most entertaining game on the telly this weekend in any stretch. The most entertaining game of the entire 4 divisions. We'll get on to just following this. Motherwell went ahead twice in this game. Our new man, Kevin Van Veen, who I'm going to say now looks a find.
Looks a player.
He's a proper player, doesn't he? And Davis Mugabe scoring either side of a scrappy Cal McGuinness goal. But second half, it was an instant impact from Christian Doidge after coming off the bench, collecting a rebounded off the post Kevin Nisbet effort to get the second equaliser, and then Martin Boyle sealed off 3 points with a penalty. We just want to touch on Van Veen before we say anything else about Hibs. He completed 8 dribbles in this match.
Yeah.
The next highest start for dribbles completed was 2. Head controls up. Just some of his movement on the ball and just some of his little tricks and flicks. It was so entertaining to watch, Cam.
Aye, the best one he done, I thought, was when it didn't come to anything. I think he got blocked. He got blocked out in the end. I think he hit the side netting, but he was on the left flank and he just sort of turned Paul McGinn. And Alex Gogic, who did not have the best of games, he comes flying in out of nowhere from the side and he just skips past him. Like, he just deft his touch over his ankle, runs away with it, and off he goes. I think that was probably his best dribble of the game. But he had so many standout moments, got the opening goal as well. Really, really impressive first league game for him. For a Motherwell team that looked like a lot of people have sort of touted as potentially being in trouble, looking a bit dodgy after their League Cup campaign. With that man up front, it could be a little bit different. He looked really interesting.
So, I mean, it just kind of provided that spark to Motherwell that I really didn't expect them to have this season. I predicted them in 10th. I thought they'd be finished beneath both Dundee sides, just ahead of who did I have below them?
County.
It was County and Livingston. Yeah, sorry, I just had to remember that for a second. But I don't know. I mean, I was impressed by a lot of Motherwell's players. I thought, aside from Van Veen, I like the look of Callum Slattery coming up from Southampton. Jake Carroll, I thought was great. His cross for both of those goals was fantastic. Have I underestimated Motherwell coming into this season, Cam?
I don't think you have, because I also did. I think I also had them in 9th or 10th for my predictions. Really didn't feel confident for them after the League Cup group stages, but we're forgetting that these guys have came in, they're doing really well. Players that we maybe didn't know too much about. Still got Liam Kelly in goals, who is a really good goalkeeper, I think. I now want to change my prediction and put them up to 8th, but it's too late for that. We've got to stick to our guns. We just have to be wrong when it comes to the end of the season. They gave Hibs a proper game, a strong Hibs team, a proper game. So maybe see in 5 weeks' time, maybe after a couple of games, see how they're doing. If they're sitting mid-table, then I think they'll be fine this season.
Aye, I mean, I've already stuck my predictions out on Twitter. I've got the images up. I can't do any more about it. That's just me locked in for the rest of the season. On to Hibs themselves. I mean, we've already touched on it earlier in the show. In case you missed that, biggest story from this game was Josh Dodd's exclusion from the squad, as Jack Ross admitted that he expects the young fullback to be leaving the club for a fee in the region of about $4 million, being quoted from either Burnley, Watford, or Nottingham Forest. I know West Ham had been in about him as well, but potentially not anymore. I'm not entirely sure. But Cam, you touched on it earlier. I mean, that would leave Hibs only with Lewis Stevenson really as left back. But we need to look back to last season, because Doig came in to replace, or he came in to add backup to Lewis Stevenson. Lewis Stevenson was going to be Hibs starting left back last season, but Doig just showed his quality and really displaced that his elder statesman in that position really made it his own and was Hibs' bona fide starting left back throughout the entirety of the last campaign. So it's hard to say whether it would be. It's not hard to say it would be a downgrade on Doig going back to Stevenson. I'm not trying to be disrespectful because Stevenson is a great player and one that the Hibs were looking to rely on last season. Ended up using Doig a lot more. But do you think Hibs would be comfortable in sticking with Lewis Stevenson, or do you think they'd be looking to reinvest that Doig money into another potentially higher quality left back? Again, I'm not trying to kind of throw Lewis Stevenson under the bus. He's a solid defender, and he has been for a number of years. But I don't know. Maybe Hibs have kind of had the experience of Doig and want someone of the same caliber.
No, I don't think it's disrespectful. It's nothing against Lewis Stevenson. Lewis Stevenson is a great guy, but he's just not the footballer he once was, and even that wasn't. It's well known that he isn't the greatest footballer on earth. He's just a good Hibs player. I think they'd maybe need to reinvest the whole back line, to be honest. I mean, Paul McGinn at right back, fair enough. I quite like him. He's quite good. He was pretty good against Motherwell too, getting bombing forward quite often. I think he played a key role in one of the goals too. But I think the centre backs, you've got Ryan Porteous, who we're expecting to have another breakout season, but what if he doesn't? You've got Paul Hanlon, Darren McGregor, speaking to some Hibs friends, seems to be a little bit past it. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think they need to reinvest in the whole back line, and I'll just shut up so you can introduce Sean.
Yes, we are joined by a man live on the scene in Ayrshire, very close to me, actually, rather than anyone else. Sean McGill joining us live from Rugby Park, or give it its full name, Sean. What's its full name these days?
Just Rugby Park, mate. We'll just stick with that, I think.
Nothing about Billy Bowie, no?
Yeah. No, definitely not. Just good old Rugby Park for me.
Good old Rugby Park. Sean, I'm not going to say I'm happy to have you here, considering what tonight is. We've not actually mentioned it all this broadcast, but there's one more game to go in this SPFL weekend, and it's the Ayrshire Derby, the first Ayrshire Derby in the league for 28 years, the first Ayrshire Derby overall in 4 years. How are you feeling, Sean, being there?
Well, if I'm talking as the neutral journalist that I am tonight, being here, I'm looking forward to a good game of football. If I'm maybe talking a bit more personally, then I'm pretty scared, just because derbies are nervy experiences, and that's the music about to come on here. So I don't know if I get some sort of copyright strike. I hope not. Can you still hear me all right, or am I holding up?
Sounds okay, mate. I can hear you.
I'm able to hear you guys, but who cares about that? But I do generally think the atmosphere here will be great. Of course, fans getting back into the stadium means a lot, but for the derby, it'll be great. I do genuinely wish there were some Ayr fans such as yourself, Jack, the very few of them that there are here tonight. But I think still, regardless, it'll be a great atmosphere inside Rugby Park this evening. A great way to kick off the championship season, the Ayrshire Derby.
As much as I would not really, as much as I want to say I'm really happy that I'm not at Rugby Park tonight, I really wish I was there in any capacity, just to experience that. A league Ayrshire Derby is something that you and I have never actually lived through, so it's a really fresh experience for us. Cam, I want to come to you because I want to kind of get your perception of it. Obviously, Sean and I are massively excited for ourselves and not for each other, because we want each other to do horribly this evening. But how are you viewing the Ayrshire Derby tonight, Cam?
Couldn't care less. No, I'm joking. No, I like the Ayrshire Derby. I think it's right interesting. I think it's one of the best derbies in Scotland. I would put it fourth alongside probably the fourth. Yeah, Sean's telling me where it's going.
My phone said so. It's science, mate. It's science.
Yeah, Sean McGill's Twitter poll is the be-all and end-all of Scottish derbies. I'd only put the Fife one up there, but since Falkirk Dunfermline one's a bigger game, that doesn't really count anymore. Yeah, no, I'm excited for it. I am expecting a killy win. I'm so sorry to say, Jack. I think it'll be a lot narrower than people expect it to be, but I do still expect it. I like their signings. I like their rebuild. And yeah, I'm quite excited for it. I'm really excited for it, actually. Like you say, there's not been one in our lifetimes, a league Ayrshire Derby, so it'll be great to experience.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm sharing that same excitement, to be honest. It's more nervous anticipation at this point. It's just been building all day, and we've got to the point where the teams are out, so we could probably talk about that just in a little minute. So, what were you about to say there, Sean? I feel like I cut you off.
I was going to say that just as I was joining the broadcast, I was doing past a team sheet. So I don't know if you guys had seen teams yet, but I've got them in front of me in case you need them. But it seems like you're already on top of that, Jack.
The teams that I've just been sent them on Twitter. I've been sent them by my good Ayr friends, and then Graham put the Kilmarnock team. So talk me through the Kilmarnock team, because I don't really know too much about this team. It's more or less a brand new team from Kilmarnock. There's been a lot of transfer activity at Rugby Park over the summer. We know that for a fact. I mean, there's been some good championship level players brought in. Ewan Murray, I see, he's in there. Obviously, Dunfermline's captain last season. He's a great. I really like seeing him. You've got Fraser Murray, formerly of Hibs. He's in there. Chris Burke, obviously, he was there last season. You get one of the three McGinns. It's not John. It's not Paul. It's Stephen. There we go. Process of elimination. Innes Cameron, a former school colleague of mine back in the day when I was a lot younger. But how are you feeling looking at that Kilmarnock team tonight, Sean? Does it inspire you at all? Does it fill you with any confidence?
I think it does, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat that we haven't seen this Kelly side play together an awful lot at all. I mean, looking at that, really, if you're sort of being quite particular about it, there was only really two players who were at Kilmarnock last season in that starting 11, and that would be Chris Burke and Brandon Houndstruck, considering that Innes Cameron spent most of the season out on loan, firstly at Ayr United, which is an interesting decision, and then he had a really good spell in a struggling Alloa Athletic side. So it's hard to know too much about this side, but I think that Zach Hemming, both goalkeepers, Sam Walker, the other one who's on loan from Reading, they both were given equal minutes in the Premier Sports Cup. Zach Hemming played the Morton game and saved 3 penalties in that penalty shootout, so I think that he earned his right to start. There in the back four, Jason Naismith, Ewan Murray, Chris Stokes and Brandon Houndstruck. Chris Stokes, the new club captain, he's coming from Forest Green Rovers, so that'll be interesting to see how he sort of is fired up for a derby, considering he's the new leader of this side. Experience in the midfield, Stephen McGinn and Blair Alston, as well as former Motherwell man Liam Polworth, another sort of high-profile signing for Kelly this window. Then the front three, Chris Burke, Fraser Murray and Innes Cameron, players we perhaps know a bit more about. So I think it's a forward-thinking team. I expect Stephen McGinn and Alston to try and dominate that midfield area with all their experience. And perhaps you could tell us a bit more about that United team, Jack, that are set to get skidded tonight.
So, well, I don't know if it's. I think I'm with Campton. I don't think that's going to be an attractive game of football in the slightest. I feel like you're probably going to be watching it through kind of closed eyes, closed hands a little bit, just to see if one side can eke in a goal or two potentially. But it's an unchanged side from our last competitive match, which was, of course, away to New Douglas Park to the Hamilton Academicals in the Premier Sports Cup group stages.
Some time ago, that, Jack, though. Like, that was how many weeks ago?
What was it? 2 weeks ago, something like that. A lot, maybe. But I think 2 weeks. 2 weeks tomorrow, I think it was.
Yeah, that would make sense actually. Yeah.
Our last Premier Sports Cup game got a wee bit awarded the win because Falkirk were unable to field the side due to COVID concerns. But it's the same team that could put out then. So Charlie Albinson in goal. But kind of surprised me the fact that he kind of came in as competition for Aidan McAdams, of course, Morton's former goalkeeper there player of the season last year. He's come in and kind of taken the number one, even though he's wearing 21, from McAdams. And I've liked what I've seen with him. He kind of kept 2 clean sheets in his 2 games against City, Edinburgh, and Hamilton kind of dealt with everything he needed to fairly well. But he wasn't really troubled an awful lot, purely for the fact that the defence was kind of holding firm, which I don't think I've been able to say about an United team for a long time. Jordan Houston and Patrick Redden on the fullbacks. Interested to see Redden starting because I've had a feeling that James Maxwell might have come in straight from the off this game, the Rangers loanee, but Redden has been fantastic. I've really liked what I've seen from him so far this season, as I did last. Sean McGinty will be playing with Jack Baird in the back to a centre-back pairing. I had a lot of doubts about McGinty coming in from Morton again. Obviously, Hopkin, Air manager David Hopkin, that is, he kind of went to town on that Morton squad this summer, just brought in no less than 4 bodies from there. Another which is starting, I'll get on to him in a minute. But he's looked defensively all right. Like, he's looked fairly composed. There's not been any bomb scare moments from him, which is something that I didn't expect to be saying. And Jack Baird has looked his same kind of fairly decently comfortable self so far. It'll be 2 sitting midfielders, and Andy Murdoch and Aaron Muirhead. I love Aaron Muirhead. He's a real heart in the sleeve player, and I feel like he is going to be one of the most up for this players. He's going to properly go out and probably take a few challenges, or dish out a fair few challenges. And Andy Murdoch's no slouch. He's a wee guy, but he's definitely got a bit of bite about him, which I think is going to be needed for a game of this magnitude. And front 4-ish, I think it'll be probably Mark McKenzie and Mikey Hewitt playing on the wings, with Cammy Salkeld to the middle supporting number 9 Tommy Adeloye, the striker. I did expect him to start, even though he just announced a couple of hours ago that Jonathan Afolabi signed on loan from Celtic, which I'm really excited to see him in the Championship again. I thought he was really good for Pars. Dunfermline before that season got curtailed because of COVID, and then he was pretty effective at Dundee last season as well. So he's got Championship experience. I'd imagine he'll feature. Adeloye's been impressive from what I've seen. A really good runner. Got a good eye for goal. He scored 2 against Edinburgh City. I'm not too discouraged by this team, which might say something that I'm being too optimistic, but I don't know. I think it is just that sense of optimism creeping in, and I'm wanting to get excited, but I don't know if I actually can. So I think we've got time for a couple of predictions. I think we've got 5 minutes before we need to shoot off. So go for the neutral point of view first. Cam, have you got just final thoughts on this game and kind of overarching predictions for it at all?
I'll go 2-0 Kelly. I think it'll be a late goal to wrap it up. I think it'll be a 1-0. They'll hold on, and maybe like a 90th minute second goal. That's it.
Right. Well, I'm never doing this show with you again. That's
every Monday.
That'd be heartbreaking.
On YouTube. Sean, how about yourself? Well, thank you for coming on, because you didn't have to, and you could have been soaking up that famous. No, it's not. I'm not giving you that. So, how are you feeling? What's your thoughts? Are you sticking with a dominant Kelly win?
Well, on the point of that atmosphere, I might have looked a bit distracted the last couple of minutes, but Kilmarnock fans have just started filing in, and then the same stand as me. The first time they've had fans in this stand, so it'll be good to have that atmosphere right in front of us in the press box as well. So I'm excited about it. I'm sure the fans are getting excited for it now as well. And I mean, Kelly will have most of the ball in this game, I'm pretty sure. I think that they will try and dictate the game. And it just depends on whether there's goals on this side and how resolutely they can defend. But I do think Kelly will have just enough. So I'm going to say 2-0 for the home side.
Matching Cameron. Unsurprisingly, I'm not going to go for the same prediction as the pair of you. I do agree with you, Sean. I think this is going to be a match that Kelly are going to be dominating the ball a lot. They'll see a lot of the ball, and it'll be a case of a long ball out from the back up to one of our runners in Hewitt, McKenzie or Adeloye to try and get something of an attack formed. Hopefully not. Hopefully they kind of go with the more kind of passing route rather than the lumping balls up the field, because especially against Hamilton, when we kept the ball on the deck, we were playing some pretty nice stuff and were able to get some decent attacking moves. There's a plane flying over my house, so that's the overarching noise you can hear. Hopefully it's not disrupting me too badly. But
it's got a banner on the end. It's the demise of United.
Your commission, I'm sure it would have been.
It cost a bit of money, but it was worth it, Jack.
You're not getting enough petrol to get home tonight, but it was all worth it. I'll stick with what I said midweek, and I'll say 1-0. I could see us get any. Realistically, I shouldn't be worried because we are the massive underdogs, and if Kelly do get nothing out of this game, it's going to be brutal for them. It's not something that we're going to enjoy seeing at all. So who knows? I'd love it. I'd love any positive result, to be honest. I'd like to see some of our kind of more talented players get on. I'd like to see Dale O'Connor come off the bench. I mean, I've kind of been hearing good things about him. James Maxwell probably make an impact throughout the season, and interested to see whether Afolabi comes on, if at all. So we get 2-0 to Kelly's and 1-1.
It might sound like I'm just covering myself, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do get a result tonight, considering it's the first game of the season. This team are still very much gelling, and of course, it's a derby game, and that the heightened emotions means that anything can happen. So, as much as I would lean towards a Kilmarnock win, I wouldn't be completely shocked if they do get something from the game. I hope I'm wrong.
I hope you're right. Well, that's going to do us for tonight. Of course, if you want to watch the Ayrshire Derby, that's going to be on BBC, 7:45 kickoff, so you get just enough time to get yourself sorted and get your black and white flags out. Thank you very much to Cameron Wanstall for joining me for the duration of this show. It's been a pleasure as always. And a thank you to Sean McGill joining us live on the scene at Rugby Park. Hope your night is horrible. We are going to be broadcasting across Facebook, Twitter and YouTube at 6 o'clock every weekday from now until the end of the season. Sean McGill's going to be back tomorrow with this show, joined by Stu and Garvey. Hopefully he's in a horrible, horrible mood, and I can just join in the comments. Really, really happy. Make sure to subscribe to to A State of Mind. Oh my God, that would have been terrible if I got the name of that. Make sure to subscribe to A State of Mind on YouTube and retweet the tweet that's going to get you entered into a monthly prize draw. The prize draw for the Urban Hymns Verve memorabilia was just won the other day, and it's a bit of Fratelli's themed memorabilia this time around. So if you like a bit of the Fratellis, make sure you head over, subscribe to the channel, and follow us over on Twitter to get the most out of that. So enjoy your night, enjoy the Ayrshire Derby, and we will see you all very, very soon back here on the State of Scottish Football.